My Cub Scout pack sang at an old folks' home. I was 8. It was my first time seeing people that old, besides my grandma. But she was young compared to the people inside. What remained of them? Sores, wheezing medical equipment, blank stares. It didn't upset the other kids like it upset me. One of the scouts, TJ, his grandpa actually lived there. We sang Amazing Grace to him. He lay in bed the whole time, grinding his teeth, groaning. I don't think he heard us. We sang for a married couple. The wife smiled and thanked us, gave us hard candy I spat into my breast pocket. The man, he didn't move. He just stared at a spot on the ground with his mouth open. I thought he was asleep. We were singing Story Finds You in the Dark. Humming along, his head began to sway to the rhythm. We got to the second verse, and he started singing along. None of us could sing well. We butchered these songs. So when the old woman started crying, I stopped, because I thought she hated it. A chaperone tapped me on the shoulder, eyes centered on the old man.
Keep singing.
When it ended, the woman hugged her husband and cried.
Frankie, it's me, honey. It's me.
Yes,
He said, like he wasn't sure. The woman thanked us over and over. The chaperone, I think it was TJ's dad, told us the guy hadn't spoken for years, until that night. I forgot about this for 20 years. It came back to me when Grandma was dying. Grandma got married the day she graduated high school, so her parents would only have to pay for one party. The story found her when she was 22. She was staying home with 3 children while Grandpa built houses. He'd come home at night and eat dinner while Grandma went to the finished units to decorate. She'd buy old furniture and redo all the seats, scrub out the cat pee. On the weekends, her mom watched the kids while she gave tours and sold the houses. It was good money. It didn't last. Grandma got pregnant again. In the womb, Aunt Perlip was already causing trouble. The doctor said if Grandma moved too much, she'd lose the baby. She'd have to lay on her back the entire pregnancy. So, Grandma laid down for 8 months. All the while, taking care of a 4-year-old and a couple of 2-year-olds. Grandpa still had her reupholster furniture laying on her back, staring at the ceiling. That's how the story found her. The brother from St. Perkleys visited Grandma 5 days into her 8-month laydown, rang the doorbell and rang it and rang. Grandma sent Uncle Terry to answer, thinking it was some kind of emergency. A minute later, her 4-year-old waddled into her bedroom holding the hand of a complete stranger.
Hello, Miss Tummel. Oh, I didn't mean to catch you in bed. I heard of your recent misfortune, and I wanted to stop by on behalf of the story, Miss Tummel. Have you heard the story?
I know how the story finds new congregants. It mines for loneliness, self-doubt, fear, the part of you that's weak. Grandma was strong every day of her life, except that day.
Well, no. I haven't heard of the story. Please, take a seat.
The brother kept coming. First he brought pamphlets, then it was psalms, then stories. He loved it. An audience that physically couldn't leave. After 8 months of talking to the guy twice a week, every week, I bet it seemed rude not to join the church. That summer, as soon as Perlip arrived and Grandma regained the ability to walk, she took the whole family to St. Perkleys. A dip in the grease, a few words, and the story absorbed a new family. The church filled every crack in Grandma's life. Story schools educated her children. Story services became her social life. Congregants, her friends. Sacraments, her career. The story took every piece of her and 15% of her income. And she loved it. Whatever I condemn about the story, Grandma is my constant, unspoken exception. Shining through her, even something as despicable as the story can become beautiful.
I never even make
Hi, this is Jem. Oh, hey. How's it going? Uh-huh. Yeah? Well, anyway, before you go too far, I'm not here. Please leave a message.
Damn it, Jem, you know I hate that message. Change it. Story, help me. It's Mom. You need to come home. Grandma isn't looking good.
The first time I received a message like that, I was a freshman in college. Grandma didn't die. She bounced back. A week later, she was driving again. This was the second time. I called my mom. What's wrong with Grandma? My mom said some complicated medical term I didn't catch.
The doctors say she doesn't have long. I think you should come home.
I didn't believe it. Okay, but if I show up and she's out mowing the lawn, I'm gonna be pissed.
She won't be.
I could hear it in my mom's voice. There was no bouncing back from this.
She's in a hospice.
I had to rent a car to drive the 12 hours home. It was just barely cheaper than a flight, but it'd get me to Indiana a day earlier. It felt like every second mattered, like I was already late. I took a car to the rental place. The guy at the counter was wearing a Story Goosefix necklace. A gaudy one, too. Rhinestones lining the triangle, a fake diamond in the circlet. Put me off the moment I saw it. I hesitated. Should I wait for another clerk?
Name for the reservation?
Tummel, with a T. He talked me through the insurance options, had me sign a form, handed me the key. He smiled the whole time. I felt guilty for my immediate distrust.
All right, that's all we need. Have a good drive.
His grin broadened, revealing the tips of his teeth.
And may the story guide you.
I felt the stab of pain in my abdomen. Thank you. I started walking away. I should have left it there. Also, you really shouldn't add this stuff about the story. His eyes closed halfway. Congregants love a chance to prove their devotion.
Well, I disagree.
The guy instinctively grabbed his pennant, stroked the metal.
Everyone should hear the story.
Oh, I've heard. Believe me, I've heard it plenty. And it doesn't belong here.
Agree to disagree.
Hey, I'm not trying to start a fight.
Oh, you're not?
This isn't a Story compound. It's a friggin' car rental. It doesn't have a place here, and some customers honestly had a really bad experience because of the story.
The story doesn't care about good or bad experiences. The story drives a path through hearts. So it doesn't...
Dude, don't quote fucking scripture at me. 16 years of story school, okay? I can't hear a dog bark without all that shit coming back up. My mind flashed to nights as a child, begging the story to spare me. Days of bruised purple knees from kneeling before the book. The cold, wringing hands of the sister. I'm just asking you to recognize that your religion has really fucked up some people. The man now held the goosefix like the hilt of a sword.
The story doesn't care if you like it or not. It doesn't care if you don't believe. The story must be told.
I nearly asked for a manager. Whatever. I walked out the door. The guy would wear our encounter like a badge. He'd go to a story men's group and brag about how he fought for the story. There was no winning against a congregant. I made the drive in 10 hours. I didn't even go home. I pulled off the highway and went to the hospice. I had seen Grandma in 4 recovery homes and half a dozen hospitals. The hospice was the nicest of them all. It made sense. It's easier to care for the rooms when the occupants don't stay long. I approached the front desk. Hi, I'm here to see my grandma.
What's her name?
Dolores Tummel, with a T. The woman at the front desk reached out and took my hand in both of hers. She squeezed.
Room 252. Story bless you.
I had to pull my hand free like it was a mousetrap. I walked down the hallway and turned right. It was so quiet, though in every open door I saw 2 or 3 people, other visitors of the dying. None of us knew what to say. The door to room 252 was closed. I knocked. Grandma? I opened the door. Grandma's room was small, a beige 8x10 rectangle with an accessible bathroom. Framed portraits of Grandma's 8 children, 30 grandkids, and 15 great-grandkids congested the wall opposite the TV. My mom must have decorated. Story beads and an age-old goosefix sat on the windowsill, between pug salt and pepper shakers that Grandma bought at a Goodwill. Grandma lay in bed, not quite watching the TV. An ad for a class action lawsuit played.
Do you drink Crow? Have you developed skin tumors or been diagnosed with persistent wet lung? You may be entitled to a settlement. Lawyers here at Brennan & Wise are here to get you...
Looking at her blank face, I remembered that old silent man in the old folks' home 20 years earlier. I couldn't breathe. I walked in front of the TV and waved. "Hi, Grandma." She startled at that. The comatose slackness to her face disappeared.
Jimmy.
I bent over and hugged her where she lay. She couldn't lift any limb more than an inch. "It's good to see you, Grandma."
I was waiting. I prayed your story would lead you here. And look, here you are.
I'd seen Grandma sick before, intubated in the hospital, skin dry and thin like wrinkled linen. This was worse. It was the calm look in her eyes. "Of course I'm here," I said. "Story or no story, nothing could keep me away."
No story? What the hell are you talking about?
I never told her how my beliefs had changed. I didn't want to break her heart. I decided to be a congregant for the next hour. "Sorry, Grandma. I didn't mean anything."
Good. Come here.
She beckoned me close for a kiss. After pressing her lips to my cheek, she whispered,
The story must be told.
The story must be told." I hadn't repeated the invocation in 3 years. It stuck in my throat. "How are you?" She exhaled, a long, choked sound like she spat it through a straw.
I'm ready. You know that. I've said it before.
She had. For a few years now, it came up in conversations like the weather. "What's for dinner? Hot day today. I'm ready to die."
I'm not afraid, Jimmy. My story finished long ago. I'm ready for the last word. Oh, story, I'm ready.
My throat constricted. I knew this was going to be hard, but I didn't think it would be so blunt. "You never know what your story writes. You could surprise us. I'll bet you'll be mowing your lawn next week." She rolled her eyes.
Yes, yes. No one can pretend to know all their story. That's true. But I can tell when the end is coming. The story and I, we talk.
"What does it say?"
It says, come home.
I choked up. "Well, what did the doctors say?"
I don't listen to them anymore.
She tried to laugh, a weak, gasping sound.
They think it's all the crow I drank. But I won't hear that. The story wouldn't tell me to drink something bad for me. No, sir.
I wanted to shout, "Of course it would! Congregants put that shit in their baby bottles, spoon it to the sick!" But I kept quiet. Grandma needed the story to make it through the death it gave her.
Doesn't matter. I'm ready, Jimmy.
I'm not. Grandma hadn't seen me cry since I was 6 years old. I held it back. "I can't imagine life without you."
Oh, Jimmy.
She grabbed my hand.
I'm not going far. Not so far I won't be with you.
I started breathing hard, short little inhales and exhales. Grandma pulled me close, my head to her shoulder. I held the emotion inside until it burned my cheeks and she released me.
No use waiting any longer. Jemmy dear, grab me that tin.
She pointed a shaking finger to the TV stand. I followed it to a small container stamped with the triangles and circle of the story. I picked it up.
Open it for me.
The lid creaked as it opened. The smell of grease stung my nose. I recalled the pastor's hands, confirming me with my story name. Sweating congregants packed into pews for the Feast of St. Brandon, standing before the fire pit for the day of grease giving. I could smell cedar, the smoke of candles, and incense. Grandma took the container and set it beside her. She wrapped her hands around my own.
I saw you come into this world. That giant head of yours absolutely covered in hair. I've never had to worry about you. I always knew you were a good boy of the story.
My head dropped. Her hands were growing warm, holding me tighter.
I'm going to bless you.
My heart stopped.
Is that okay?
I don't know. I couldn't look in her eyes. I'm not the best congregant. I don't want you to waste it.
The story doesn't care what kind of congregant you are. We all have a story, whether we believe it or not. Do you understand?
What she said was not so different from the guy at the rental agency. But from her mouth, it sounded better, pure. I understand.
Good. Now, close your eyes.
As I obeyed, the sounds of the hospice filled my ears. The man groaning next door, a cleaning cart squeaking down the hall, the water fountain buzzing and whirring with hidden pressure. Each fell away as Grandma began to speak.
Story bless the child.
I heard the bed groan. She was sitting up.
Bless the boy. May his story be told, and may it be a story just and true.
The words twisted and collided between my ribs.
Keep him safe. Hold him open to your word.
I heard the tin rattle as she scooped her finger into the grease.
I love you, Jemmy.
I fought the tears. I love you too, Grandma. Her voice changed then. It sounded like her hospice room tripled in size, echoes bouncing off far walls.
Our stories are written together. Wherever I am, there you will be.
She smeared a horizontal line across my forehead with her thumb. The substance tingled on my skin.
And wherever you are, there I'll be.
She smeared a streak down. The tingle became a burn.
The story will watch you.
3 short movements for a triangle.
The story will bring you back to me.
A circle. Now the grease was like ice. You're imagining, I told myself.
The story must be told.
Tears fell down the sides of my nose into my mouth. I tasted salt. The story must be told. The words slipped out of my mouth, just like they used to. That's when I felt a sudden pain in my side, like a needle digging between my ribs. I opened my eyes. All I saw was darkness. Grandma, I said, alarm raising in my voice. I rubbed at my eyes and could feel the open lids, but I couldn't see. Grandma, what's in that stuff? Grandma put her palms to my cheeks, stretched her fingers into my scalp.
The story.
Colors began to stir in the blackness. Grandma, what's happening? Her hand stroked my cheek, the tremble gone. Her skin felt young, not a wrinkle on it.
Don't bite it.
I relaxed my shoulders, unclenched my jaw. The colors grew bolder. The anointing transcended a simple religious gesture. It was shorthand for something cosmic. I could feel the eternal pulsing inside me, a vine unfurling inside of my heart, lacing between the valves. I began to sway. I felt her hand slip something to mine.
You can wipe it off now.
Her voice sounded normal, the echo gone. I opened my eyes. Daylight bounced through the window off the photos of my aunts and uncles and cousins and mother. Grandma had put a tissue in my hand. My breath stalled in my throat. How did you do that? During my blindness, Grandma had deteriorated. She couldn't lift her head. Her hands shook, color all gone. She laid on her bed and occupied less of it.
Do what?
I wiped my forehead with the tissue, inspected it. Nothing but grease. Yet no matter how much I wiped, I could still feel it cool on my brow. Nothing. Grandma coughed into her fist. Each convulsion shook her whole body. I knelt by her side, put my hand on her arm. I could only feel bone underneath. The coughing fit passed.
I need my rest.
Yeah, of course you do. I'll get going. I couldn't compel myself to move. I love you, Grandma.
I love you too.
In the rental car, I wiped at my forehead. On my fingers, the grease flared from burning to cold to burning. Maybe it's just icy hot. I couldn't wipe it all away. The feeling lingered until Friday, when Grandma's story ended. The funeral was at St. Perkley's. My mom and I came together dressed in story funeral red. 3 generations of my family filled the cedar pews, dwarfed by the number of congregants who came to celebrate Grandma. Women from her women's group, children from the choir, several of the senior clergy. I wondered how many of them visited Grandma before she passed. I stared at their foreheads, studying the shine of candlelight on skin. Did she bless them all? Before the ceremony began, the brother asked my mom to help him light the candles.
I'll just be a sec.
She left me sitting by myself. I never felt so alone. Grandma's body was sealed in pine, sitting in front of the altar. Behind, the crucifix loomed over her body. I could not look upon her without seeing it. The two could not be separated. I closed my eyes, tried to remember what I saw in my blindness. The colors would not come. It was easy to doubt what I felt, so I did. You hadn't eaten all day. It was a hallucination, an acid flashback. You were weak and susceptible. The story isn't real. The brother approached the pulpit, clicked on the microphone receiver in his pocket.
Brothers, sisters, siblings, today we gather to witness the final word of one of our dearest congregants, Dolores. The story must be told.
The congregation responded in chorus.
This story must be told.
I did not join them. A sharp pain in my side doubled me over.
The story must be told.
The brother shouted again. I refused to say the response. The pain grew worse.
This story must be told.
This story must be told.
I finally cried. The pain disappeared. I saw colors fading in from the periphery.
The story must be told.
The story must be told.
My forehead burned. I could feel Grandma's hand in my own.
The story must be told.
The story